How's it? There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Afternoon.
Your group is so well behaved. My group yesterday, they didn't listen to a damn thing I told them. Half of them don't come. So how's it? So I'm looking forward to people that that kind of listen. Man, oh my soul. It was a lot of fun yesterday though. Yeah, kind of listen. I don't know. You'll tell me. Maybe yours are as naughty as mine, but my group were very naughty. They didn't listen to anything. So
No. We well behaved.
yeah, that's how I've come to know you as well behaved. But yeah, my group, we learned some interesting things yesterday. So yeah, quite excited to get it going. So hopefully you guys are all excited. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got to count because I've got I've got to tell you a funny story. I've never used the breakout room feature, so yesterday was the first time. So I thought, it's fine. I watched the video, so okay, I can do this. So I get in, and like it's a whole bunch of people with note takers. Like I got this Fathom thing, which is recording, you see. So then I do the automatic thing, and everybody just goes in, and like 2 note takers got into one group. This is a guy there by himself. So it took me a while to work that out. So I've got to just watch. It's not quite always as simple as it looks on the tin, but anyway. All right.
No,
Well,
we don't have note takers, so you're good.
So don't worry, I got one. I'll send you the notes. So yeah, yesterday was actually quite interesting. We had to interview things. We'll see how we apply them. But I think I do think your group are better behaved than mine. So I'm gonna try the same thing again today. I'm sure it'll work here. My group it didn't. And then at the end, I'll tell you what we came up with there as a little twist, and you can tell me which one you think is going to be better. So let me start off. Let's see what's up in the chat. That's okay. We'll have to just imagine what you guys look like. That's fine. Let me get into this and share a screen with you just to get us going. Let's move that over there. This can go somewhere else. And okay, so that part we know. So you'll remember, right, that the program's got a number of key components to it. Just give me a second. I actually just want to open up our. Oops, hang on. No, I've lost that. That's not what I had intended. That's what I had intended. Let me put this there. The 3 things obviously that we want to try to achieve at the end of the day, right, is to create the LinkedIn profile that's going to help you do quite a few things. And I saw yesterday that this was such a major problem. I knew it was a problem. I didn't realize how big a problem. Bearing in mind, I'm dealing with a lot of professionals, and we're not really geared into doing this sort of thing because the stuff is not as obvious and as intuitive as it seems. But what we really want to do is to create that authority profile that we spoke about. So when you do get a referral or somebody checks you out, right, and they go to your profile, they must know without a shadow of a doubt what it is you do and that you can help them. And that makes quite a big difference. And you'll see it's a big part of the system that we're going to teach you. And then, of course, this idea of making you referable. So you guys take quite a lot for granted in a sense because you're in a BNI environment and they do that quite well. Everybody else, like not so well, hey, is like they're all over the show, and so it's fabulous if you're asking for a referral, but if people don't know how to refer you, it becomes an issue. When you've really thought this through, and Mel sort of touched on it last time we spoke, where she was suggesting, and we'll do this a little bit more formally later on in the program. We'll run the complete parallels where we look at your LinkedIn profile versus your BNI profile. And you'll probably find they're very similar. I'd be surprised. I have looked at it, but the LinkedIn thing might have 1 or 2 idiosyncrasies and vice versa. But in the main, it's quite similar. So whatever you're able to do here, you'll do there. And I looked at quite a lot of BNI profiles, some of yours, but I'm talking, just generally when I was doing a lot of research for this program. And I'm amazed at how many people don't fill it in. It's like, this is like the greatest opportunity you have. It's so simple. It's so easy. The questions are there. All the thinking is done. And yet people don't do it. So this will be one of those things that your group is not going to be those people. So this thing here makes quite a big difference, as you'll see. And then of course, once we've done that, then it's a really simple process, as you saw, right? That's sort of one, two, three-step process where the hard work really, honestly, is done in creating the profile. Once we've done that, then I'll show you how to write, effective messaging. And remember, we're just going to send those 100 connection requests every single week, and you're just going to answer whatever comes back into your inbox. And you'll be quite amazed when you've got a really good profile, because think of that first impression, right? When you send a connection request to somebody, like they receive the connection request and they say, who's this person? And then they pop over to your profile to go and see. And if your profile blows them away, you're off to the races. And so you'll be quite amazed at how many people actually respond very positively just through this really, really simple system. And then obviously you guys do this a lot more. This was one of my problems yesterday. So everybody wants to chat, but really to build that network, again, I said strategic partners. What is your term, Mel? Power partners. What's your thing?
Power team.
Power teams,
Power
right?
team. Yep.
This, well, we'll call them power partners. I like I like alliteration. So power teams, strategic partners. You can, as we say, you build that within what it is that you're doing, but you might do so also outside of it. When you see what the possibilities are with this, you'll be quite amazed, and it'll really help you to grow both your personal businesses and I suppose just for me a little something that I want to achieve is I want to make sure that your BNI chapter grows. So that's a personal little challenge for myself. So you guys got to perform because I need you to grow the chapter, right? So that's the long and the short of it. And so you'll remember we're going to talk about the 3-step system. Most of it's in the profile. Once we've done that, then the rest of it becomes actually common sense, really. So we'll talk a little bit about, so I'll show you how we find the people on LinkedIn and how you do the outreach, and then we'll talk a little bit about responses when we get there. And then, of course, this being the idea. So we'll start off today. And I'll be giving you a quick little teaching piece, and then what we'll do is we'll stick you into the rooms, hopefully with no note takers, with enough people. So the idea with this is actually twofold, or actually threefold, because once you've had your little chat and you come back into the main room, and then you're going to share the implementation of what you did. So just sort of going back here, the idea when is to get a chance to chat to each other. Now, you guys are quite far ahead of the curve, right? My guys, the errand ones, not so much, right? But nonetheless, it's still a great opportunity in an environment, and you might get a little bit more opportunity here, I would suggest, than in what you do. Mel, I have to tell you, yesterday I appreciated the structure BNI has to get stuff done. I have a few things to learn there. That's for sure. Next week we'll be a lot stricter with people. But I think here when we're in the rooms, we'll be in for a little bit of time. And so the idea will be to have a bit of a chat to each other, and then to implement what I'm showing you, so that you could try to implement that in your business, and you can do that individually, or you can chat amongst yourselves to do that. And then the idea, of course, is you come back into the main room like we are now, and then we'll just go around the table, or the virtual table, so to speak, and then everybody will answer the question that we addressed, or the piece of the puzzle, if you like, that we addressed for the day. And so what that does is it takes you one step closer, obviously, to building that power profile, right? And so we're after those two things, remember, authority, positioning, and referability. Then, obviously, as you're doing that, you're also learning important things about each other and about each other's businesses, right? And that's really the point, is that from my perspective, I'm trying to accelerate things. I want you guys to be able to get to the point where you feel comfortable with each other sooner than later. Now, you guys may be there, but still, this is a great opportunity to have different conversations, and you'll be talking around, I think, points that are, some of them will be business related, some will try and make a little bit more fun, but it will all relate. So you really do get to know a lot about each other and a lot about each other's businesses. So half the point of you being referable is that everybody else in the room can now act with confidence refer you, which is a good thing. And then obviously starting to build these lifelong relationships, which you guys are already doing. So you guys are sort of ahead of the curve as opposed to the other groups. But I think we can accelerate that process. And so let's get into it now. I want to change what I did yesterday. I just want to show you something quickly. If I pop onto LinkedIn just before I dive into that, what I thought I would do, instead of just like diving in and teaching you stuff, I sort of just run through at a very high level, what a good profile looks like, and some of the stuff that we're going to be trying to do now, just to kind of explain to you, and this will be really helpful for you, for those of you that don't know. So typically, how people get here is because maybe they've had a referral, or they're searching for something. But invariably, in the way that we're operating here, is either you will have sent them that connection request, or they're looking for you, and they type your name in, and so now they get to your profile, and typically this is what people do. They look at this banner, right? Because it's your one opportunity to brand yourself a bit. And you'll see, I love this idea of putting text on here. So the banner will be somewhat reflective of each of your businesses. And then this text here's job, and I'm doing this very high level. Okay, so don't worry if you you don't have to make a million notes. I'm just giving you context. The text is really letting people know very, very quickly that they're in the right place, right? They'll then have a quick squizzy at your photo. If they think that that's professional, they like that, they'll have a look at the name, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot unless that they were searching for you. And then this is the big piece, right? This here is like the most important thing on your LinkedIn profile, because it appears together with your image. So this is your LinkedIn calls it your headline, but essentially it's your value proposition, right? And this thing follows you everywhere. So if you're on LinkedIn, like if people are sending you connection requests, or you're posting, or you're liking somebody's post, or you're in a search, anytime you appear on LinkedIn, it's going to be your profile photo, and about the first 90 characters, depending on which device people are viewing you on, right? So this is such an important thing. And remember that your LinkedIn profile gets indexed in Google, right, as well. Also, for a lot of you, you'll be able to link off your BNI profile. So it's kind of this nice circular thing that tends to happen. And so a lot of people, if they Google you, this information will come up in Google, and they will make the decision as to whether to click through to your profile because of that. And when they're on your profile, they'll make the decision whether they should read the rest. So just know this is very, very important, right? And obviously we're going to get to that. So that's kind of people get you, and they take this big snapshot, and you've got about a second, in my opinion, for them to do that. And they're making this very snap decision, because that's how we are today. It's like, am I staying on this profile or not, right? Then they're going to scroll if they like. Now, this nonsense here, they won't see. This is because I'm looking internally. So the next piece they see is this about section. Now, this is the section that tells them all about you. And so this becomes a lot more of a personal piece, so it's not only about the business, but there's a lot that goes on here. And I'll explain this to you as we go through. But it's just showing people that you're a real person. There's a little bit of personality, behind the face. This is the person. Even if you're working, for another company, not working for yourself, that's fine, right? But this is still your personal profile. And if people are transacting with a company, they're still transacting with you as a person. So I like to take a lot of personality and put it in here, together with, obviously some of the stuff that's needed if you think of the sorts of things you would need in a typical sales page, okay, without it being salesy. And I'll get to all of that. Don't worry about it. I'm just giving you the structure. Then they'll typically scroll down a little bit more. There might be some stuff in the featured section. We'll talk about that later, but then typically they will get past any of posting and stuff that you're doing, and then they'll get to your experience section, right? Now the experience section is quite interesting because it's kind of related to what you do. And again, if you're sort of comparing a typical website to your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn profile does anything any website can do, other than programming stuff, right? Any major website, even if you go onto BNI's website, I promise you, your LinkedIn profile in your little world does exactly what it does. So it's quite phenomenal, right? And so you'll obviously be able to link to your company, all right, and then you'll have a little bit of a description. And so the sort of thing that one wants in the description, right, is to tell people exactly what it is you do. So this tends to be a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of the process. Okay, now this is typically how people go through a LinkedIn profile, and sometimes when they get here, if it's available, they'll open your company page. Let me show you what that looks like as a member. So this is what people will see, and you'll see it's quite similar. If I just go back up here, you'll see it's quite similar to your personal page. It's a little bit different because now there's a logo, as opposed to your personal picture, and it's a little bit thinner. But same sort of thing, tells you a little bit about the company. And then the thing that people can do from here is visit the website. So this is what happens in real life all the time. Okay, so your LinkedIn profile will get you a ton more traffic on your website as well. That's just something to think about. A lot of people don't realize that. Also, if you've got colleagues with you, they generally tend to be able to find the whole flow. So many times they won't only look at one person. They'll say, well, who else is in the company? And they'll open other profiles. So this is just to give you a very big, broad-based overview of what's up and where we're going. Now, don't worry, we're going to build this all out like piece by piece so that when we get to the point where we start sending out connection requests, it's very easy for people to respond positively to you. Okay. So that being said, let's get into this and let's pick apart, so to speak, the very first piece that we need to know about. Now, to be honest, this week and next week are kind of interrelated. I had to pick somewhere to start, so I've decided that we're going to start here. And this is this idea of picking your niche, or quote unquote finding your ideal client. Now, I'm going to tell you, this really is not obvious to most people I speak to actually don't know how to do this. And again, it's because it's not necessarily always that intuitive. So when you actually do this, you will be streets ahead of anybody else, any competitor that you have. This really puts you in a great position. So you've probably heard many times people tell you, oh, you must pick a niche. Who's your ideal client? Define your ICP. All of those like lekker clicky buzzword things, right? What all of that stuff means is simply this. Okay? And I want you to think about this just logically. Think about your own business. Right? So there's a group of people that has got a similar set of relatively similar characteristics, right? Sometimes very specific characteristics to that group of people, right? But because of that set of characteristics, depending on what your product or service is, that makes that particular group of people the most ideal group and the most likely group to be able to benefit from your product or service to solve a big problem that they have. Right? So in a way, you can almost reverse engineer that, where you ask yourself a different question. Right? You say, okay, this is what I do. Who is the best person to sell this product to? Who's the best person that's going to get the most value out of it, that's going to get the most use out of it, that I'm going to be able to help? And when you think about that person, then our goal is now to go and discover what this similar set of characteristics is. Okay, and a lot of what we're going to do will be gathering that information. But that's all it is, right? So you don't stress about, oh, it's got to be an industry or whatever. So let's talk about this idea of picking a niche. And just before I do, okay, now before I even get there, let me just say one last thing. Everything that we talk about, right, when we're talking about this little system, this is related to your marketing. Okay? It's not related to your business. So you're not going to be married to whatever it is you choose here. If this turns out to be a dog, and I say that half tongue in cheek because I picked a dog earlier this year. I tried something and it didn't work. That's fine. I just changed it, right? You learn something and you move on. But I also discovered some amazing things as I did it. So you're never married to this. And so what happens is one of two things often happens with this. One of three, I suppose. Either this works so well that you get to the point where you say, okay, well, that's fine. That's all I'm doing for the rest of my life. Or you might say, okay, that was a dog. I'm not touching this again, or I really don't like that group of people. I make a lot of money, but they're just like horrible to work with. Sometimes that happens, right? And then the third thing that happens, which happens more often than not, is you start off with a particular group and you tend to build out something and that's working well. And then you say, okay, now I'm comfortable enough with that group. Let me pick another group of people. And so you can then sort of expand your niche out that way. That's another way to do it, right? So you're not married to it. And if it, you can literally change it at any time, right? And this is also, remember, I said it's about your marketing. So you guys know that my main niche is accountants and financial advisors, right? So last year I get approached by an attorney, and the attorney says to me, "Can you help?" Sure, I can help, right? It's exactly the same system, but he found me. I didn't go looking for him as an attorney. My whole system, everything that I do, all the productivity and everything just to make life easy for me is geared around accountants and financial advisors, right? So when I'm making the running and I'm doing the hard work, which is what you guys are building now, I want to set the deck in my favor, and I only want to concentrate on that niche because I know I'm the best in the country in that particular space, and that's what we have to strive for. So just as an aside, obviously I helped the attorney. Took me a lot longer to get the same result, right? Because I was in a situation where I first had to learn his industry. So this niche thing has a lot of advantages other than just marketing. So you're just niching your marketing. So let's have a look at that. There are really three sort of legs to this, which will really help you when we're starting to get into the more practical side. So the first part, as you can see, is what I like to call external. And just think of this as something that you can see, it's tangible, you can measure it, you can find it, right? Particularly on LinkedIn. So a little bit later on, when we get into using the filters, when it starts to come time for us to find people to send those messages to, we can use the filters that are on LinkedIn to find people. So what we're going to do is right up front, we're gonna know what the end goal is, and we're going to use those filters to start defining our ideal client. So the sorts of filters you can look at are things like industry. So for me, as you know, I like accountants and financial advisors. But that might not be your thing, right? Industry might not be applicable to you. Many people, like accountants and financial advisors, funny enough, a lot of them don't have a particular industry that they deal with. Right? They still have a particular group of people with a similar set of characteristics, but it's not necessarily driven by industry, right? But it can be. So it doesn't mean that it will be, but industry is really cool. And I'll tell you why it's cool. Because when you create a LinkedIn profile, right, what happens is people have got to fill out information. One of the pieces of information is what industry are you in? You could only have one industry. You have to choose an industry, and it's got to be from a specific list. So if, like me, right, your industry is listed on LinkedIn, they are so easy to find. Right? Very easy to find accountants and financial advisors, or teachers, or dentists, or IT professionals, or construction, or florists. There's lists for that, all that stuff, we can find them, right? It's fantastic. So just think about that. And also what you will find, even though you can, technically, a lot of you deal with a lot of niches, there's a few groups of people that just make a lot more sense to deal with than others. So bear that in mind. The next piece of information you have to put down is job title, right? What do you call yourself? Some people call themselves financial manager, or HR director, or florist. Some people call themselves owners, partners, directors, right? You've got to think, right? What does this ideal group of people that are best suited to buy your product, what do they call themselves? And we can find that. This is fantastic on LinkedIn. And then there's some other demographics, which just means we can layer on other things. So like for some of us, we want to work with startups. So we can find businesses that have been going for 2 years or less. Some of us want to work with more mature businesses that have been in business for 10 years or more, with 50 to 200 employees that are close to our office. Some of us don't care. They can be anywhere in the country, right? So you'll see what I mean a little bit later as we stack these demographics. So this is lekker stuff, because this we can get our teeth into. This we can identify, we can see it, we can find it. Then the other thing is, now you must look internally into your own business. So each of you do something very specific, and each of you have a superpower. Okay, whether you think so or not, I promise you this is true. The superpower is that thing or that circumstance that makes you stand out versus any other competitor for that particular group of people with that specific set of circumstances that we're talking about. Right? So where is it that you have, let's call it a competitive advantage? Now, just so you know, competitive advantage does not mean I give great service, and it does not mean we reasonably priced. Okay, we're not talking price and service. I'm expecting that box to be ticked. There's got to be something else, right? So what's the something else? Well, it might be you have this amazing group of peers called BNI, where so now you're able to bring other people or other partners, other industries to the table, right? So you're able to solve multiple problems where most of your competitors only solve one. Maybe you've got a super dandy piece of software. You know, maybe you've got some proprietary system like I do, something that I've developed that I teach. It doesn't matter. Everybody's going to have something that just makes you stand out amongst everybody else. And guess what? When you start to bring these two things together, right, in the middle here, if you do this, what has happened is that you've now brought two bits of specialization to the table, right? So you thought your industry through intelligently, and then you said, okay, these are the skills that I have that really make me the best in the world at servicing this particular industry. So right in the middle there, that's a great place to pick a niche, right? And then for those of you that have been in business for a while, listen, you've got clients, and guess what clients represent? Clients represent proof of concept. Clients represent, listen, I know that this works. And so what we want to do is, we all have good clients and bad clients, right? Not the bad ones. You take the good ones and you say, all right, why are they good clients? This is a question you're asking yourself. Why are they good? And then you say to yourself, okay, well, how can I find more people like them? And so part of this process is identifying that set of characteristics that makes them great. And then you pull it all together. So in my world, as you know, I told you that my history last time. Growing up as an accountant, I've been in the financial world until I moved over all my life, literally, right? So it was a very logical place for me to go in terms of industry, right? So who am I dealing with? Well, I'm dealing with financial advisors, financial planners, wealth managers, accountants running their own business, right? The demographics, well, I need accountants that have got 50 employees or less. Otherwise, I can never get them into a room together, because anyone with more than 50 tends to be 3 partners, and you cannot get 3 accounting partners in one place for long enough to give you a decision on anything, just so you know. Right. So there's all of these things that only come sometimes from experience, but when you know, then you can put it together, right? So internally, now remember, I'm talking with my marketing hat on at this stage, because I've now moved over from finance to marketing. I can do lots of things. Right? I can write books, obviously, as you know. I've published a number of books. My first book was on sales funnels, so I can build sales funnels. I can do webinars. I can speak from the stage. I can do videos. I can write sales copy. I can build websites, and I can vomit forever, right? Right. But the reality is, all of those wonderful things, when it comes to this market here, the only thing they want is, how do I get clients? Okay, well, it's not the only thing, but it's like the main thing that they're happy to pay me money for. It's like, how do I get clients? And if you can build me a system, even better. Okay, so guess what? That's what we do, right? That's my competitive advantage, and I took it further. I built a proprietary system, right? This is my system. Nobody else teaches this. Maybe these other people will teach a variation, but this is my system. And then when I looked at my client base, surprise, surprise, most of them are accountants and financial advisors, right? So that being said, obviously, right in the center there, as I pick it, that's the best place. That's why I'm helping the financial service industry with client and lead generation, right? So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of a clue. That was sort of the process that I went through, and this is where you guys are going to get to, because when you know this stuff, man, your life improves dramatically. So this would be an example, right? So industry could be something like accountant, financial advisor, pharmaceutical. Just as an example. If we looked at job title, it might be something like chief executive officer or sales managers or pharmaceutical reps. Most of us like this bit down here: owner, partner, director, founder, co-founder, that sort of thing, right? Because a lot of us will be dealing with smaller businesses. And then ideas of some demographics, right? It might be that I'm looking for business owners that have been going for 10 years, Here we go, 51 to 200 employees. There's an age range, 30, 55. I want them close to my office, right? So when you start to think about this stuff, LinkedIn's cool because you can find a lot of this information. Everything that's on here you can find when it comes to LinkedIn. And if you can find it on LinkedIn, you can find it anywhere else. So what we're going to do in a little bit, and actually while I'm doing this, just give me a sec. I'm going to just quickly upload a file for you guys into I'm going to pop a file into the chat for you, which you guys can download in just a second before I pop you into the breakout rooms after I've gone through this. So this is what I want you to fill in. The stuff that's on here will be in the PDF. Let me just run through this because I've now given you the big picture. So now it's just, okay, well, fine, James, how do we do this? This is how you do it, right? We're going to answer just a few questions. So the first question, we've touched on this already. Which industry do you have prior experience working in? And he has a tip for you. Doesn't even have to be in the same industry you're in right now. Okay. All that has to happen is that you need to be able to sell the thing that you're selling right now to that group of people. So why is this so important? In fact, if you took nothing else away from today, probably the most valuable thing I can tell you is deal with people that you know. So I grew up as an accountant, therefore I knew that group of people exceedingly well, right? So it made so much sense for me to deal with them. Now, even, even if, right, even if they're not in the same industry as you're in now, the fact of the matter is you know them intimately, so you can speak to them, and that's what actually gets relationships going. So, for example, I'll show you here. In my world, obviously, I had two careers, as you remember. So at first, it started off with accountants and financial advisors, and then once I got into the other stuff, I was doing the marketing. I started to do other things. So I am a coach. So coaches work well, right? Technically, I'm a consultant as well. I've spoken from the stage, obviously before COVID. Now it's just easier to do it online. Clearly, I write books. So I consider all of these people as like the knowledge industry, right? These are people that sell their knowledge in one way or another. And then you might have noticed I've got magicians. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, in the same way, right? You can, when you're looking at your experience, that you can look at any job that you did before. Look outside of your job, of things that you do. So one of my greatest regrets in life was that when I was younger, I was fascinated with magic, right? So I found myself a magician to teach me some magic, and unfortunately, after about 6 months, the poor guy passed away. And then, of course, it was like, oh well, I need to go get my career going and all that nonsense. And so I didn't continue, and I'm really angry with myself for that. But so be it. And so in that period, right, I got into it, man. I bought books and videos, and obviously I know how a lot of the tricks are done. I've got friends that are magicians. We've been to magic conferences together. I speak the lingo. I'm a magician. Not a very good one, but I'm a magician. And so I could have chosen magicians and helped magicians to generate leads and clients. Just think about that for a second. Like weird, I know, but I could have, because I have that affinity with him. So think about everything. Don't just think about where you are at the moment. Right? This will open up a lot of possibility for you. The next thing is, which industry do you have 2 or more clients in? So the reason I say that is that a lot of people start a business that grows organically. You just like take whoever, right? And so sometimes, particularly with my industry, for example, with accountants and financial advisors, they can service anybody. So if they start to look at the industries, it might be, 2 of this industry, 1 of that industry, 1 of that, 2 of this, 1 of this. It's very common that it just like grows. But sometimes you look at it and there's like 5 of something. So maybe an accountant looks at it and says, you know what, I've got 5 attorneys. Jeez. Then you start to look at it, and if you've got 5 attorneys, okay, you are an expert at accounting for attorneys. Let me say that to you again, right? You are a professional. You are an expert at accounting for attorneys. Because guess what? You do this 5 times a year for 5 different people. And guess what? Those attorneys are a group of people with a specific set of characteristics, which means they have the same problems. They need the same stuff. Okay, they have the same objections. They do the same stupid shit. You've got to sort out, right? Everything is the same. And so when you start to look at it that way, and the fact that you now actually understand them and you speak the lingo, when it comes time for number 6, you just say, hey, guess what? I got 5 others. I know what I'm doing. And they don't even question. It's like, well, okay, well, if you've got 5 others, clearly you know what you're doing. All right, I'm in. That's how life works, right? That's the social proof stuff that goes on. So if you've got more than 2, think about it. Okay, I'm not saying you have to choose it. I'm just saying think about it, right? So for me, obviously, it was fairly obvious with those 2, right? Being accountants and financial advisors. And then the last one is if these 2 don't work, it's just something to think about. Are there logical industries for you to target? Okay, sometimes there will be. Again, start with your product or service and say who's the best person to be able to use it. So look at this program, right? Just for a second. If you think about it in terms of what's logical, so remember this started with me with my network, which is accountants, financial advisors. I then added attorneys, right? Because I'm looking for a very specific group of people. And then I need people that are on LinkedIn. Okay, you're an online chapter, so you're a better bet than say an offline chapter. I know you might do a little bit of hybrid, but if you think about it, so I need people that are on LinkedIn. I need people whose clients are on LinkedIn, and when I've got all of that stuff together, then it starts to make sense to pull together. So when you're looking at it, think about logical industries. So like in my world, things like finance and marketing and sales, because they all spend time on LinkedIn. Right? So this was a critical for this program for me. If you're not on LinkedIn, it's like you're probably not going to be here. So again, just think about if there's something logical, right? So this is how to pick an industry. Now, if some of you are sitting there and thinking, yeah, I'm not going to pick an industry, I don't need to. Like, I want to challenge you on that. Don't be so close-minded, and I'll tell you why. Because you don't only have to service one industry. An industry might just be part of your big picture. Right? So later on, when you start to stack stuff together, you might find that, you know what, even though I can service a bunch of industries, there's 1 or 2 or 3 that really make a lot more sense for me to service. They're easier to work with, I make more money, whatever it happens to be. Okay, so sometimes you're just going to make it part of what you're doing. Okay, so that's that piece. Then we're going to talk about the other demographics, right? I'll go through this one a little bit quicker. So industry we've spoken about. And the second thing is geography, right? So you have to decide where you want your clients to be. So on LinkedIn, they can literally be anywhere in the world, right? So if we look at South Africa, they can be in South Africa. They can be provincially located, Eastern Cape. Maybe they then in a particular town, maybe East London. Maybe you've got a specific postal code. Whatever that happens to be, just work it out. Like, if you're a local business, guess what? You need local clients. If you can work online, then it doesn't matter, right? And if in your world, jurisdiction doesn't matter. So like accountants and financial advisors, often tax is a problem, right? Because the tax in South Africa is different to the tax anywhere else in the world. But if you're a graphic designer, if you coach LinkedIn, anywhere in the world will do, right? As long as they speak the language. So think about that, right? So for me, I'm just looking for the English that would be speaking Western world with synchronized time zones, right? So I don't deal with Australia and New Zealand because, man, there's like a 2-hour window where we can talk to each other. Otherwise, one of us is sleeping. And I don't like 3 o'clock in the morning. So think about who that is for you, right? And I think for you, the decision really is, can I be all over South Africa, or do I need to be in a situation where I can easily get to my clients, closely related to where my office is? Then there's company size. So this is quite an interesting one. So LinkedIn gives you these options, right? And you'll see this a little bit later on. Actually, you need Sales Navigator for this, but we'll talk about that much later on. So either self-employed, or maybe they've got up to 10 employees, or 11 to 50, 51 to 200, 201 to 500, 501 to 1,000, and then it goes to 10,000 plus, right? Now, for a lot of us, like, we're not dealing with a 10,000 plus. Like, we're not even getting our foot in the door there. So just don't waste your time there. Just for us, maybe we're looking for the small businesses, the 1 to 10s. Maybe some of us need something a bit bigger, maybe the 51 to 200. Whatever it is, just think critically about it. Because here's the thing, right? Somebody who's got, say, 5 employees, right, versus somebody who's got even 500. Think about this. There's a very different set of circumstances that that person's going through, right? They've got they've got different demands on their time. They do different things. They worry about different things. So you've got to think about that again. Which of these characteristics makes the most sense to belong to that group of people that are most likely to buy your product or service. Okay, just think about that one carefully. And sorry, that obviously is a mistake. What should be there in terms of company size is, when I was dealing, as I said, with accountants, I found anything up to 50 was good, because anything more than that, I think I told you already, I got more than 2 partners. Oh my God, no decision ever in the history of the world. So I stopped dealing with them. Job function. So job function is an interesting one, and job function is related to industry, right? And even on LinkedIn has a very specific list of the job functions that you can use. Now, every job has got certain functions. So every industry, doesn't matter what it is going to have sales, operations, HR, finance. So there's a bunch. So you've got to think in terms of the product and service you sell. Does a job function make sense? It might not, right? Maybe you just need the owner, but if it does, yes. So for me, I need people that are their job function is related to accounting, for example, or maybe business development, because obviously I'm the guy that generates business, or finance, right? So everybody's going to be a little bit different. And then the last one, probably the most important one, I would suggest for all of us, is job title. Okay, and as you will discover later, this is indeed the most important filter. And this is the job title people give themselves. So if I say to the average accountant, what do you do? They'll say to me, I'm an accountant. I'll speak to a financial advisor, what do you do? They'll say, I'm a financial advisor. They might say, I'm a financial advisor at Liberty. That they might say. But fundamentally, they'll tell me basically what it is. So as long as you know who you're looking for, it's kind of cool. Now, in my world, right, on the accounting side, people that are running an accounting practice, as they call it, so they don't call it a business, they call it a practice, right? They call themselves things like owner, partner, director. Big Cheese is the managing director or the managing partner, but they could also be founders or co-founders. Okay? When I deal with financial advisors, they also have different names. They do slightly different things, but actually the same, right? So there's people who that call themselves financial advisors. There's others that call themselves financial planners, and there's others still that call themselves wealth managers. Okay, there are subtle differences in those things. So when I'm searching, I can search for different people, and I can write them all different messages that make sense. So try to answer these questions as best you can, related to who's the best person to buy your thing. Okay? And then just looking internally, just to tidy this little exercise up. Oops, before we go there, okay? So what specialist skills do you have? As we've said, so in my case, webinar creator, copywriter, obviously coaching, LinkedIn expert, etc. Right? So what specialist skills do I have? Obviously, in my case, having the proprietary system really helps. What's your superpower? That's what you want to ask there. And then well, actually, this is your superpower, pardon me. What competitive advantage do you have, right? So again, I say here, better, cheaper, quicker, more efficiently. Yeah, okay, but when I say cheaper, I don't mean you discount your price to be stupid, to be competitive. Not that cheaper. It's like you've created something that allows them to pay you a fair amount of money and still get it cheaper than the other stupid thing they were doing before they met you. That's what I mean by cheaper, right? So often it comes down to time and money for people. Like if you sell, I make you more time. Sorry, yeah, I make you more time, make you more money. You can sell most things. So if you can think of your solution in that way, that's going to help. So in my case, because I've got that proprietary system, and of course I've got very intimate knowledge of the financial markets, right? I know accountants and financial advisors intimately. I know them. I probably know their businesses better than they do, and I kid you not when I tell you that. Even the financial advisors, whose business I learned over time. I was an accountant, but I understand the problems, and certainly as it relates to what I do, is helping them to generate clients better than they do, right? So that should help you there. Now, what I want you to do In a bit, I'll just open for some questions before we do that. We'll pop you into some breakout rooms. Then you can have a little chat to each other. Not that long one, like my guys, we took the whole time and didn't listen to anything. But I want you to have a go at this and do your best. You can do it on your own, or you can chat amongst yourselves as you fill it out, right? And then it'll kind of like this, where this will be the end. So you just do like a little summary for yourself, right? So these are all the key external things. Here's the superpower, the internal stuff, the existing clients that give me a little bit of an indication. And then sort of taking this information, just write your own description in your own words, what you think the niche is. So just combine all of this, right? So I'll say, I help financial advisors who are who earn commissions, and obviously people who are running a team with a system to generate leads and clients so that they can earn a living, meet their commission quotas. It might just be something like that, but it might be a little bit broader. I help financial advisors in South Africa. So just whatever comes to mind, whatever you get out of here, the more detail you can put, the better it's going to be. And I think, right, that's that bit there. Okay, we'll come back to homework in a bit. All right, so let me pull this over here. Okay, I can see you guys again. Are there any questions at this stage? I know that was a lot. So the first two sections are the ones that are the most challenging. Just to let you know, this week and next week. Once we get past that, then we fly. Okay, then I promise it gets a lot easier than this. But like if you nail these two, like you nail everything. If you don't, you bubble through basically. That's like the best way to describe it. I always say to my guys, like, sometimes I think you're successful despite yourselves. And there's a lot of truth in that, right? A lot of us fall into whatever we're doing. Some of us plan it. I plan to be an accountant, and clearly I'm not, right? So the best laid plans, but something happens to a lot of us, and then we end up where we are, and then we like it or we don't, and we get good at it, and then that's what we end up doing. So if you can do that and then really think about it and bottle that, man, that gives you such an amazing competitive advantage. Okay, so I am now going to try yet again.
So James, if I can just bring what you've shared into the BNI context. So when we do member success training, which is a training that every BNI member goes through at least, well, when they first join, but then every year they go to BNI, they call it MSP, Member Success Training. And we teach people very similar to what you've done in terms of what is your industry that you're looking at when you're looking at business to business. Now, some people sitting in the room may not be looking for a business per se, maybe they're looking for individuals. Then you're looking at business to an individual, which looks maybe slightly different. But if you can get what James is saying right, this is going to really help almost laser in to your ideal client, which then you can work around specifically in your 60-second slot. So by doing this, yes, you are working on your LinkedIn profile, and yes, you're going to work on your BNI profile, but you can take it further. And just for an example of showing you the power of this is, for example, if you're looking at an industry, so James was talking and he was going, just say financial planners is the industry, or you can say pharmaceuticals. So then, okay, so which pharmaceuticals this time? So we can just say Aspen Pharmaceuticals. And then, and James said it, which role, which title are you going to be looking for? Because Jared would speak to a very different person to Bianca, who would speak to a very different person, maybe to a Barbara in that same Aspen. So Aspen might be all their clients, but there would be different people who would be dealing with electrical work, to dealing with the legal side, to dealing with the HR side. And then literally in your 60 seconds, you would say, this is who I am, this is what I do. Today I'm looking for Mrs. Heather Boucher, who is the HR manager or director at Aspen Pharmaceuticals. And so that's how you can take. So what James is sharing with us now has so many more uses that you can then link back, and then you use that. And each week, so that's a business to business. And then maybe Bianca's hearing this and she goes, oh, I don't know Aspen, but I know. And then she has another pharmaceutical. Well, that could be equally as valuable for you because you were honing in on one. And then just finally, before I hand it back over to James, is if we're just talking, so Chantel might say, well, I don't really have an industry maybe. And I'm just using Chantel as an example. I'm looking for a business. You can do this in a person space too, in terms of whether it's development, property developers could be an ideal target market for you, but equally as well as we can look at people who are married, people who are new parents or whatever it is. So this has more applications than just the one we're talking about. So if you do this well, it can help and there can be massive advantages for you down the road.
All right, cool. Mel, what do you suggest in terms of breakout rooms? I would just do it automatically, but maybe there's a better suggestion.
It'll be interesting to see what they do automatically, because I probably would my president brain would say put people in their power team so that they can discuss it. But sometimes you can allow magic to happen when you put people out of the power team. So I go for it.
All right. Well, let's see. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Let's see how you guys for time. Are you guys? Have you all guys all got like a hard close at half past? Sorry, I'm looking to the other screen because that's where I've.
I need to be done at the 4:30.
Okay. All right.
Sorry,
Cool.
James, I'm gonna have to leave now shortly. I need to go fetch my little one.
Yeah, I also
At 4
sorry, I
o'clock.
also need to leave just now to fetch little one.
Yeah,
But I
I'm sorry,
can-
I have a client at 4 o'clock, so I will also be leaving shortly.
Okay. So
Sorry, James.
let's hang on. Let me close this. New plan. Okay. So interestingly enough, what happened yesterday, I'll share this with you, and I believe your group was better behaved than mine, so I thought we'd do this. How we worked is I popped them into the room, and then instead of doing the work, they all spoke to each other to do networking because they don't have the opportunities that you guys have had yet. And so when we had a little bit of a chat, quite an interesting suggestion came in at the back end. And the suggestion was that, listen, why don't you give us this to do as homework? And that actually makes a bit of sense. I'll tell you why. So we have the opportunity to do this. Then I give this to you as homework. Then what we do is next week, okay, we start in the round table. So everybody's going to come and he's going to share your homework with everybody else, right? Because the whole point is that everybody's starting to get a bit of a sense and you getting some clarity. Then Mel and I can jump in as well and give you some direction there. So we can maybe knock some of the rough edges off. And so we can do a little bit of a feedback session. Then I'll teach next piece and then you can do that for homework again. So we flip the original plan. That might work a little bit better. What do you think about that, Mel?
I'm happy with that. I know that originally we had told people to do 90 minutes. Clearly, life sometimes gets in the way of our plans.
It's a bit.
Yeah, I know. But yes, I value and appreciate your flexibility, James.
So
I do.
So hang on a sec. Let's just see what's up. So look, a big part, right, of this process when I designed it initially is to do the networking thing. Okay, but you guys have that covered. In reality, you have it a lot better covered than the other group, because the other group's quite disparate. It comes from all over. So if we look at this, because today's not, I doubt whether today is going to be unusual. I suspect we're going to have a 4 o'clock problem with a number of you as we go on. So maybe if we quote unquote cut that piece out, because I don't know that we desperately need that piece for you guys. Then if we do it the way that we've just suggested, I think we can get everything in and we can probably keep it to an hour. I think that might be a better solution. There's quite a few of you, and I imagine that that's going to be a recurring issue. If you've got little ones, you've got little ones. It's like life is life. So what do you guys think? Are you happy with that? That we do it that way? Okay.
I see a lot of smiling faces, but the nods are
Yeah.
certainly.
No, I think so. Okay. So that's fine. Then I'll leave this with you. Then that kind of works well. That brings us up. If you guys want to ask anything or clarify anything, we can have a little bit of a chat. Yeah. Otherwise, what I'll do, I've got all your details. I'll mail you all the stuff. Although you don't need it, you've got it. I'll mail you the slides. So that at least you've got that as well. But yeah, fundamentally, if you just apply your minds, but do this work, guys. I promise. Like, don't like leave it and say, I'll do it in 20 minutes before the next session. No, sit down and just give yourself like some time and think about it. I promise you, this and next week, the best investment you will make in your business all year. Those 2 weeks will change more than you know. You know, when I deal with my clients, and I speak to them, some of them years later, and many I've never met, so we talk online. You know, we don't talk about business. Sometimes we'll start like, oh, how's business? You know, the normal chit chat. But then when the proper conversation starts, then we talk to each other as humans, because we've got to know each other. There's this relationship that goes on, and I often ask people, okay, I say, you know, when you worked with me, what was the most valuable thing you learned? And I kid you not, 80% of the people tell me how to pick a niche. Let me say that again. 80% of the people I coach tell me the most valuable thing they learned is how to pick a niche. Okay, so give this the attention it deserves. I promise you will be rewarded for it. And you'll see this will develop as we go through. More and more will develop and when you get to the end, and more you know about your ideal client, the better. Okay. And you'll see how this pans out at the end of the day. All right. So that's, I thought I would just share that with you because it's amazing. You'll see. Let me just see in the chat, because I have not been paying big attention. See if there's anything I need to see there. You guys have all got the PDF, eh? You've downloaded it.
Yeah, I've got it.
From the chat. Just making sure. Yep. All right. Excellent.
I will download it now.
You need to download it before we disappear, because otherwise I don't think you can download the chat, but I don't think I've actually uploaded the PDF, so I don't know if you get it in the chat. You might lose it. So if you can, where is it? It's somewhere in the middle.
Don't stress. I'll
have
pass it on if it needs to.
Have you guys all got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any questions, suggestions, anything you want to do? Because this is cool, right? Remember, this is a bit of a beta program. This is a closed group. We can do whatever we want.
Well,
so if there's anything you guys want, let us know.
James, sorry, I've already downloaded the LinkedIn thing already, and as far as I can see, I'm 80% done with most of the questionnaires and all of that.
Cool.
Already. But yeah, I'm sure next week when we're back online again, maybe I can just ask you just to double check it and make sure that it looks neat and presentable.
Yeah, so
it's not a total mess.
So what we'll do now, right? So like next week, so now you guys all go away and you'll do some homework. Then next week, what we'll do is we start the process with you all going around the room, right? So you learning about each other. So that part obviously will still happen. Then what we can do, so Mel and I will probably do it together, because I think we probably make quite a good team doing this. We'll help you to critique it. So we will ask you some questions about it, and that way everybody gets to learn from everybody else. Because at the end of the day, I need you all to know what everybody does. It's not only the point for you; it's the point for everybody. So when this process is finished, like you guys will know who to refer, how to refer, when to refer. Like, you'll have no questions left. And then when the people come, everything that the person who referred said is going to happen happens.
Perfect.
Okay. Mel, anything from you?
No, I'm good. But I do want to encourage everybody. There's a massive investment of time, obviously, that James has made at no benefit or cost for himself. So I really want to encourage you, grab the opportunity, make full use of this, go and do the homework, because at the end of the day, as much as you put in is what you're going to get out. And I certainly see great value in this, not just for your LinkedIn profile, but for us as a chapter and for us individually in terms of growing our personal brand. So please go do the work because ultimately you'll benefit and reap the benefits of the work that you put in this week. So thanks, James.
All right, guys. Cool. So those of you that have got little ones, get on your bikes. You're already a minute late. Go.
James, thank you very much
All right, guys.
for the time. Much
You're welcome.
appreciated.
All right. See you
Thank
guys next week. Thanks. All right.
Take care,
Cheers,
everybody.
guys. Keep well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.